Good morning, Pantsers. It's Tuesday. So Nella, books. So I haven't actually read that many of the books that were on your list. I've read a few of them. I read Cranford, but it was a very long time ago, and it was while I was in college. And I think I mentioned back when you were reading Anne Bronte, there's a weird thing where there's like a whole period of reading there while I was in college that I read, but I don't remember at all because, well, partly because it was, a while ago. But partly because I was really sick. It's all gone out of my head. So I remember reading Cranford, but I don't remember Cranford. And I remember reading Anne Bronte, but I don't remember any of the stuff that I actually read. So that's kind of disheartening. So I guess I will just have to go back and read them again at some point. Oh, speaking of Anne Bronte, I assume that you have probably seen Dude Watching with the Brontes, the comic by Kate Beaton, one of her strips from Hark a Vagrant. I assume that you have probably seen it, but if you have not, I will put a link to it in the doobly-doo. Let's see, what else did you mention? Northanger Abbey. I love Northanger Abbey. It is my favorite Austen. If you are not watching Northanger, the web series, you might like that. It's almost over, but it only airs once a week, so it doesn't take up a lot of time. I have not read I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith, but Dodie Smith also wrote 101 Dalmatians, and I have read that. And I have always kind of meant to read I Capture the Castle, but I never had like a copy of it or access to a copy of it sort of handy, so I've never gotten around to reading it. But, and this brings me to another big point, I don't know if you have heard of Open Library, but openlibrary.org, it is like an online lending library, and I only recently discovered it myself, and I assumed that it was just going to be all like public domain ebooks, sort of like Project Gutenberg, something like that. But it isn't. I mean, it's a lot of public domain stuff, but there's also a lot of other stuff, some of which is not public domain. And I Capture the Castle is in it. Also, I have forgotten the name of it. I have to look it up again. But the Holocaust memoir that you mentioned is also there. It's on hold at the moment. I have to add myself to the waiting list. Also, I Capture the Castle is also checked out, so I'll have to add myself to the waiting list for that too. But a few of the books on your list are available in Open Library. Like, it's got kind of a weird selection of books, but it has a much broader selection of books than I would have expected for an online lending library. So I will put that in the doobly-doo as well. I haven't kept track of what I read in a long time. I do have Goodreads, but I find that I don't really use it to track books that I've read. I tend to use it to track books that I would like to read, or books that I read a review of that sounds really interesting, or something like that. I don't use it so much for books that I have already read. So I've only read a few books so far this year, since we're only a few days into the year, but I think I'm going to try to track it again. So we'll see how that goes. If you are interested in, seeing the stuff that I read, I might try to put it on Goodreads. I don't know how good a job I will do at that, though. The thing that I am reading right at this moment is My Heart is Boundless. It's the writings of Abigail May Alcott, Louisa May Alcott's mother, who was a prolific letter writer and journal writer. A lot of her papers were destroyed after her death by members of her family, who felt that they were not really appropriate for outsiders to see. But a lot of her papers are still in existence, and so this is some of them, not even all of them. I haven't gotten that far in it, but she seems like an interesting woman, and I'm enjoying reading it. So I guess that's it. Nella, thank you for making such an interesting video. I always really enjoy your book videos. And I will see you guys next week. Don't forget to be awesome.